Hi, Kirk O'Connor here again in another one of our series of WordPress tutorials, and today we're going to go a little bit off the beaten track and we're going to talk about preparing images for your WordPress website, so getting them prepared before you upload them. And the importance of preparing your images before you upload them, there's two major things. Number one, you want the best possible image for your website because a good image can tell 1,000 words. And number two, you want those images to download quickly, and there are two reasons for that. The first reason being that if your images download slowly and your page downloads slowly, it really annoys your website visitors and they might click off and go somewhere else. The other reason is an image or a page that takes a long time to load will be penalized by Google as being unfriendly to site visitors. So you want to optimize your images the best possible way to make them download quickly. Now, throughout this tutorial we're going to be talking in pixels, and we're also going to be using a tool called Photoshop, which is some high-end image software. There are other image tools available online or less expensive. We're going to use Photoshop, and I will tell you why we're using Photoshop as we use it, because there is one particular tool that is a good tool that we can use to optimize our images. But first of all, let's talk a little bit about pixels so you can understand what we mean when we talk about pixels, those that don't already. So let's go to our website. This is our training website, and it is measured by us in pixels. A pixel is an individual dot on your computer monitor or on your screen. We build our websites to be 960 pixels wide. The reason we do that is because that fits comfortably onto a standard notebook or onto a older 1024 wide pixel monitor, which is sort of the smallest standard monitor that most of us would program for. So 960 pixels is pretty much the standard in sites that don't expand, and you'll find nearly all of our sites will be anywhere between 960 and 1,000 pixels, unless of course the client has requested that we make them wider or we make them expand or whatever. So you can see here from the left half here of the title to the right end of the page, 960 pixels. So having a image that is 2,000 pixels wide, number one, it won't fit in the site, and total complete overkill because it's not needed. This picture here would probably be about 250 pixels wide, and as you can see on this page, it's more than enough to show the picture. Even a full width image would be 960 pixels wide. So we're going to go back to Photoshop, and let's talk about the types of image that we can have on a website. The two main styles of image we will have are a .jpg or .jpeg, and these are called JPEGs. JPEGs are what's called bitmapped pictures, and once again they deal in pixels. So every little pixel or every little point on this picture is a different color, which goes to build up our image here. And JPEGs are used for photos. If you save a photo in another format, the file size will be much bigger in most cases, or the quality will be lost. So saving a photo like this, which is a photograph, you would want to save that in a JPEG. Another type of picture we're going to talk about, or image we're going to talk about, is a .png, or what's known as a ping, and let's just bring that up to 100% so you can see it. A ping is normally used, ping format is normally used for what's called vector images, images that are not formed from graphics. They are formed, or from bitmaps, they're formed from mathematical representations of points. So they are saved as .png files, or pings as they're called, or also as a .gif or a GIF. GIFs and pings used pretty much for the same thing, where you want transparent background, or you are talking about a vector image The difference being that a 24-bit ping is a much higher quality. If I was to save this as a GIF, and we'll show you how that works later on, you'll see that the quality does go down somewhat. File size does go down as well, so you may use GIFs from time to time where you can't tell the difference in quality between that and a ping. And of course, the smaller file size you can get, as a rule, is always what you are trying to achieve without obviously a massive compromise on quality. So back to our JPEG. Now, if we look at the size of this image, we can see that this is 2400 pixels wide, so it's way too big for our website. And we can also see that it's 12 megabytes. Most of your WordPress sites won't take a file upload of more than 2 megabytes, and there's a very good reason for that. The reason being that if you wanted to upload this image and display it, you would be committing pretty much suicide with your website. So WordPress is clever, it won't allow you to do something that is that silly. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make this into a size that we can use in our website, and it's going to make some sense. So I want this to be a reasonable size picture. It's going to take up a third of the screen, so I'm going to change that to a width of 300 pixels. You'll notice that the height has also changed because we're using the image function here. We could use a cropping function where we took out some of the background if we only wanted the cup, but I'm doing the image function, so I'm going to say okay with that. You notice though that the file size is 191K now rather than 12 megabytes, so that's decreased it dramatically, but however this is still too big for our website. You notice the size has decreased, so I'm going to increase it up to 100%. This file size, 191K, still way too large to put on a website. What we're trying to achieve is generally an image such as this. We would definitely not want it to be more than 50K on our page, or 50K bytes. Sometimes you might go around 100K or over, but that should be a real exception rather than the rule. So Photoshop has something really clever, which is really useful, and that is a save to web function, which will take more of the unused portion of the data out of this photo. So I'm just going to bring that up. Okay, here's our save to web, and you can notice that here, even though we've got this saved as a high quality image, as a JPEG, you can notice that we've got our optimize ticked here, and down here in the bottom it's 22K. So we've taken it, using this function, we've taken it from 191K to 22K, which is definitely within our limits. If we were going to try and save this as a ping, which would be the wrong format, we can see that all of a sudden we've gone up to 116K by trying to save a JPEG image in the incorrect format. So we're going to go back to JPEG here. We could go to a very high, however what you can see here, if we try and make this a touch bigger, is that the image quality between high and very high at this level really doesn't change. So we sort of want to look for the lowest we can get without losing our image quality. Even a medium really hasn't changed that much. Maybe it has a little bit. Let's go to high. Not a lot of difference there. I would probably be happy with 22K. So I'm now going to save. The name I give it, I really, for SEO purposes, I want to be able to give this a name that reflects what I'm trying to rank for on my site. Let's say it's a coffee site, so let's call it Coffee Beans. Buins, perhaps beans. Okay, so we're going to save that. Notice it's saving as a JPEG, so let's just save it. So that's done. Now if I didn't want to change my original, I can just go up here, please bear with me, and step backward, and my original photo is there, or I could just close the file. Now let's step to our vector image. This is our ping, and once again, let's have a look at the file size by 550. Perhaps we want to check that down to 300. Okay, you'll notice this has these little squares on the background. That means our background is transparent. That means if I was to put that on top of a background that had another image on it, or maybe was green or red or blue or whatever, that background would show through where all of these little squares are. So what I'm going to do here is, once again, I'm going to save for web. You can see if it's saved as a JPEG, that transparent background goes, and our file size is quite small. So if I had a white background, I might even save this as a JPEG because that's a very small file size, but I want a transparent background, so I'm going to save it as a ping. You can see that the file size has gone up a bit. I have a transparent background here. We could also save this as a GIF. We could check the quality, but I don't know if you can see that on your screen, but you can see that those edges there are now looking a bit ragged. We can sort of see the pixels are off. So me personally, I would be looking at, if I didn't have a white background on my screen, I would be looking at saving this as a ping. You can see there, once again, it cleaned up those images and gives me a lovely looking image. And once again, I'm going to save this as arrow circle blue. There we go. So that is very quickly an introduction into images, the sort of sizes you have, why you would use one image format versus another, file sizes and why they are important, and a quick look at Photoshop as a tool to use to pre-format your images before you upload them. This has been Kirk O'Connor. Thank you very much for your attention, and I hope you come back and watch some of our other WordPress tutorials.